Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind, Season 3, final 2 episodes. Let's see what happens.
For the first time. Let's go ahead and take a look at that moment.
Reunion footage.
I'd love to see everybody for the first time. Raven's like the typical girl that I would go after in the real world. Like, Raven's, she came down, she wearing the tight clothes. I was like, okay, she's a fucking smoke show. She's hot as shit. I was like, okay. We're both like the person that people come to.
God, I remember this scene being cringy at the time, but I feel like it's even worse now, or I forgot how cringy it was. This is, I think, the first or second night that they met in person. They're engaged. Can you imagine your fiance saying these things? Again, I've been over radical honesty. At the time, I was like, is he just one of those radically honest people? Have they talked about it? But then the way he responded to her reaction leads me to believe that he was just talking and didn't think about how it would affect her, which is astonishing, really. I remember that face of her just like, and I thought, I don't know if it's, and it's just me distorting, but I thought in this moment, Nancy was like, oh my God, I've made a huge mistake, like Arrested Development, where she realizes, oh, I see him now. And I don't want this. But that didn't seem to happen because she went all the way and said yes.
And we both draw attention. They see Raven, they see me, they say, okay, that's the person I want to go talk to because they look good. Me and Raven kept in pause because we were so similar. I literally cried because of you and Raven.
I didn't know that.
Damn, Nancy and Raven. I was like, fuck.
Yeah. Okay, and it's real. He, in the pods, fell in love with 2 different people, didn't know what to do. But, and maybe he said this away from the cameras, but you would hope that he would say, well, I don't know. Again, I keep saying this and I keep flip-flopping, so maybe I'll hold on to the conspiracy I have. And by conspiracy, I mean that what they present at some point, whether it's soon or a little bit after the honeymoon, or at least the day of the wedding or something, that it's a bit of a put on, that it's a bit of a performance. They either are being coached or they make a choice or something. If we knew them, if we were best friends with them, they would tell us that they gave a show for the cameras, but really they were in a different spot. So I will return to my conspiracy for Bartise, having seen this again, that pretty quickly he was highly ambivalent about wanting to spend the rest of his life with Nancy, and he just didn't reveal it. Might have even went along with things to make it seem like he was mostly a yes, that kind of thing, when in reality from a very early point he's like, yeah, no, but I'll continue the ruse because that's part of the show. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm literally having feelings for multiple women right now. But
yeah, now it makes sense. I think he had serious feelings for 2 different women. That'll happen in the pods. It happens to people. That's fine. And he is talking about that. But the key though is, as you're talking about this and venting honestly, how do you take care of your fiance?
you were up here, right? So it was like, damn, I have to trust my gut. And then here we are now.
And then that whole thing. And then he turns like, and here we are now. Like, isn't that a beautiful thing? Like, it's so unaware of how that would affect someone.
No, there was no part of me that was like, I should have picked Raven over Nancy.
Not to protect you, because I'm tired of protecting you, but what I really appreciated about you, Bartise, is that everything you said behind my back at the group, meaning she's the smoke house or smoke program or something.
Smoke show.
Smoke show, right?
Yeah, I kind of noted that too, like smoke show, huh? So I think she's about to say, sorry for interrupting, Nancy. I think she gets invisible eyes sometimes. So I'm doing it kind of to her right now. But she, I think, is about to say like, well, at least he told me. That's nice to know. If that's inside of him, at least I was informed about that. So yeah, I mean, silver lining.
Everything you said behind my back at the group, meaning she's the smoke house or smoke program or something.
Smoke show.
Smoke show, right? like saying that and then coming to bed and then you said exactly word for word what you said behind camera, that gave me a sense of like, okay, so it's brutal fucking honesty.
All right, so Nancy could appreciate the honesty of it, that she was like, well, that's the way that it is. I'd rather know about it, or I wouldn't want him talking behind my back and not telling me about it. So I guess that's the brutal, honest truth from him. Again, that's fine. Brutal honesty or honesty is fine for the most part, case by case, usually fine. You know me, I'm not an advocate for any kind of lying or deception, lying by omission included. So great, but at the same time, you exhibit care and compassion and empathy for another person's feelings.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, but
Right.
like it's still brutal honesty. So thank you, but also like find a better way.
I'll say it was hard to watch that. You know, I felt like embarrassed and ashamed of myself.
Great. Good. I mean, you should not beat yourself up eternally, but that's exactly what you should be feeling, Bartise. Not to, belittle you, but it's so infrequent that I'll see people in the reality show realm where they will say something like, boy, that was brutal. That's hard to watch. And I'm ashamed of myself. That you can hear it in his voice, his facial expression, like, oof, that was rough to watch. And, these people are young and, well, even not young people. Imagine that your behavior in that situation is being filmed and you watch it back, you're like, oh my God, is that what I did? And yeah, so he's having that moment. This is a good learning moment for him to figure out like, I need to consider other people's feelings more. I think that's what he's learning. I hope that's what he's learning.
For making the comments to you, because that's obviously disrespectful to 3 people here, right? And now I'm disrespecting myself by having done that. So I apologize to everybody for those letting it get to that point. But I do want to say that, like, I don't think the feelings were inappropriate because.
Right, I agree. That's good. Now, I would hope he would elaborate a little bit on where he went wrong, why it went wrong. Maybe he doesn't know yet because he just saw this, but my suspicion is that he has a pattern of not really considering other people's feelings because of, I don't know, hard to know why that would be true. Probably related to the way he was raised or defenses or something. I don't know. Over focus on certain things, lack of focus on others. I don't know. But I would hope that he would say that. But yeah, absolutely. It's not inappropriate to have feelings for 2 different people in the pod situation. And he says, I don't know if I showed it, but he said he cried himself to sleep at least one night because he didn't know what to do. He was like, do I choose Nancy? Do I choose Raven? I don't know what I want. It's like, it's so hard. He might even been crying because he knew he'd have to reject someone. He'd have to turn someone down, someone that he connected with. So, he's a regular human being with a heart and he's struggling. Anyway, so after the pods, he still has feelings for Raven. Then he sees Raven. He's like, whoa, she's the sort of person that I would absolutely talk to in a bar or something. And wow, I mean, what a mind, screw this is. And Nancy is not someone I would walk up to in a bar. What do I do with this? I don't know. And, so he's verbally processing that, or at the very least, he's having those feelings, which I agree is fine. And I feel like people will watch the show and judge Bartise or Cole for just having those feelings. It's okay to have those feelings. It sucks if you're on the receiving end of that, right? If you are Nancy, it sucks to have a partner that has those feelings. But feelings are feelings. Now, if you're in a long-term relationship and the individual, I think he just mentioned that he entertained it in his mind or something. But if you have a partner who, let's say that they develop some feelings for a coworker, and then your partner, in a good scenario, shuts it down, says, oh, what's going on here? I better avoid that person, or I need to tell my partners, like, so I'm having some feelings for someone at work, and I just want to tell you now, nothing's happened. I just want to tell you because I just want you to know that I don't plan on hurting you. I don't plan on cheating on you. I don't want to leave you, but I just want to tell you that because it feels like I'm lying by omission, not telling you. I'm really sorry, and you have it out, and there's a process there. It's not without its bumps on the road. And there's different approaches to that. Not everyone needs to do that in every relationship, but you could see someone doing that. Or the individual, the partner who's having feelings for someone at work, they're just like, look, I'm just not going to go there. I find myself impulsively having thoughts about that person. I'm married right now. I'm in a relationship. I don't want to go there. That's ridiculous. I don't even know that person. Maybe there's something going on with my partner. I feel distance, and that's why this other thing is sneaking in. Maybe we need to bond more. That's the good situation. Bad situation is your partner just doesn't really try to consider the relationship or your feelings or even their own feelings about the relationship. They just neglect the whole thing and let their mind wander with this other person that leads them down a road where they end up trying to cheat or developing serious feelings for their person. So you could absolutely fault the second person, right, who didn't try to nip it in the bud, did nothing to nip it in the bud, maybe even went along with it a little bit. You could say that. So what I'm saying is the feelings, the initial feelings are human. It just happens. It's what we do with them, right? What do we do after we have those feelings? That's where our morality, our decision-making, our ethics, our consideration of other people's feelings, our empathy, our awareness of goals in life, right? Because on average, if all of us went along with all of our impulses romantically and sexually without questioning them, there would be issues, right? So we just have to think, okay, what's the big picture here? I have an impulse right now, but what's my goal here in life? What do I want ultimately? What's the best thing to do in this moment for myself and everyone around me?
This experiment is so unique, and the connections that we made were so fast and so fresh that I think it might make sense that two of us were having those thoughts. But I want to say that the inappropriateness came from the way we handled those thoughts and not those feelings. Like, we're human beings.
To me, I just feel like brutal honesty.
Yeah, good. So he's saying essentially what I'm saying, what I would hope he would say. I'm just wondering if Bartise has the specifics around why he did what he did and why it's hurtful. The lack of consideration, I think, is an important thing for him to recognize. I think he can be considerate, for sure. It's interesting. Bartise was a bit of a conundrum because there were times away from those moments with Nancy where you really saw a caring, mature, differentiated person. When Matt was having a meltdown about Colleen going to the club, I thought that Bartise was pretty helpful and nice, and he was being triangulated. It'd be so tempting for Bartise to be like, yeah, screw her, she's a terrible person. He wasn't. He's like, look, and he was really emphasizing, like, you have something, don't throw it away, that kind of thing. And so I think that Bartise can look like a complete dirtbag potentially to the audience, but I think it's more complicated than that. Especially given his reaction here, which we almost never see in reality TV.
Went on one knee to promise to marry her and have that conversation with her, and then reenact the whole thing that we said during our conversation, to me was just like, what sort of brutal honesty is that? And
it's childish. I think that's like, those are the examples of like, I'm sorry, Bartise, but like, you were 25.
To me, I feel that.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to put it. I think I might put, and maybe Bartise even sees it that way, but that is one way to put it. That's not how I would put it, but I can see how someone would put it that way, and it's not wrong. That children, younger people, because of developing, they haven't learned how to take other people's feelings into consideration as much as we would hope they would when they're older. Not everyone does that, and certainly there are kids who can consider other people's feelings pretty well, better than a lot of adults, but so there's a lot of variation. But generally speaking, we don't really expect kids to extend themselves into other people's hearts and minds as much as we expect adults to do that, right? So you could see a kid, or say a young teen, a 13-year-old, just sort of talking brutally honest, like, oh yeah, I mean, she was totally hot. I could totally see myself being with her. And it kind of comes across the vibe of Bartise talking to Nancy while Nancy is just staring at him silently, that there's this boy telling his mom or his older sister about this thing that happened at school, without really thinking about how it's impacting another person. So you could say that's childish. What word would I say? I would say that everyone has their learning edges, as we say in university, and for Bartise, he's still developing that. He's pretty good, and he's developed, and he has learned some lessons, and he still has some lessons to learn. Some of you might have kids that are like this, that you're trying to help them to learn how to consider other people's feelings more, right? And maybe it's just taking him a bit longer. I think he's not lost in the woods when it comes to considering other people's feelings, but I think, well, what would be the blind spot for him? Well, it's possible that he lives in a world where everyone is, I don't know, in his terms, head turners, right? In his world, everyone are the sort of people that when they walk into a room, everyone looks at them, like visually stunning head turner kind of people. And in that world, they have a way of talking to each other that is like, well, there's us and there's everyone else. And that's just the reality. And then this weird, I'm just making up a huge story here, but because I don't think he lacks empathy. I think he has a blind spot in his empathy that I just wonder what that's about.
It was very inappropriate. And, like, I don't know if that happened to me in like a different situation. Like, I don't know if I want to like, we're still bros the next day. To me, that was just not cool,
I agree. Sorry about that, brother.
Just don't do it again, though.
I've learned my lesson freaking clear as day, man, so.
All right, well, one couple that had me on the edge.
All right, again, I commend him. I would have wished for more elaboration. It would feel better. I would feel more secure in his honesty or something, or his sorrow about what he's done, his remorse. But all of his reactivity was commendable. There's a lot of opportunity for defensiveness. There's a lot of opportunity for making excuses or obfuscating certain things. So, good on him for being honest and also taking responsibility. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.